Help us here at Alternate Reality to improve your kids' grades. Now, we know that good grades deserve a reward, and that's why we have the Alternate Reality Good Grades Club here at the store. If you have a grade school in the Chicagoland area, either city or suburbs, bring in their report card and we'll issue you one of these. Alternate Reality Good Grades Club card. Now, for each A, your grade schooler will receive a 2% discount, and for each B, a 1% discount. Now, based on this report card, this grade schooler is going to get an 11% discount here at the store for everything, all the time, all year long. So come on down to Alternate Reality because good grades deserve a reward.
And now, your review of the week that was. And we call it Week in Review. How original.
Video Outhouse Shop Talk hits the highlights of the week of February 23rd, 2011, and we hit it hard.
Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome to my Video Outhouse. It's time for Week in Review Shop Talk. And this is the Week in Review Shop Talk for February 23rd, 2011. We're going to talk a little bit about the passing of Dwayne McDuffie. We're going to talk a little bit about Blockbuster Video going balls up. We're going to talk a little bit about DC canceling First Wave. We're even going to get maybe into that Spidey musical. But let's join the boys. Joining me in Shop Talk are...
It's good old JR.
Good old JR
Hi,
and...
I'm Bo. How are you, kids?
Bo.
How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
That's great. How you doing?
That's great.
Hey,
Hey,
Bo,
Bo, why don't you come here?
Come on
there
in.
you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Let's all smell each other's body odor.
This is suede.
Man, the man's ready for radio
This
anytime.
is suede, damn it.
That's not sweet.
First story up is the passing of Dwayne McDuffie. As I'm sure everyone's heard by now. Dwayne McDuffie passed away this past week on the 22nd of February, following complications after surgery he had on the 21st. Dwayne McDuffie, as I'm sure everybody watching knows, is one of the co-founders of Milestone Media, which brought us Hardware, Icon, Static. Anyone else?
Blood Syndicate.
Blood
Zombie.
Syndicate.
The newly reborn Zombie.
Zombie with an X.
Yes.
Zombie with an X. He's also the man who did work on the Fantastic Four comic book, most recently on the Justice League comic book, and just before he passed away, DC released this All-Star Superman, which he didn't write the comic version of this, but he wrote this DVD version.
As well
And
as
actually-
most of the recent DC directed.
Yeah, and he passed away the Monday before this
It
came
shipped.
out.
Yeah, a rather shocking.
Yeah.
Death.
But he was at the release party for this. They actually had a release film
They had
someplace for
they
this.
had a party at the William Paley Center where all the actors were there and they were all talking about it. And he said he was in good spirits and he looked pretty happy about the entire idea.
Yeah.
But then this is the last actual work that you will see from Dwayne McDuffie.
That's it.
That's it.
Have you heard anything about what he died from? How he passed away? I mean, everyone's talking about how he passed away and it was after surgery.
Well,
but I haven't heard anything about what he died from.
Well,
what happened to him.
he had surgery. There were complications after surgery. According to federal law, you can't tell anyone what it's a violation of the HIPAA law. So no doctor is going to tell you what he died of.
So if the family doesn't want it to come out, it
the
doesn't
family
come
doesn't want it to come out, then it doesn't have to come out.
Okay.
He was also supposed to be making an appearance at the Golden Apple Comic Shop in Los Angeles
Yeah.
the Wednesday after this DVD Blu-ray came out too.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I've been watching this all day at the store today, and this is quite good. If you haven't picked this up yet, you should. This is probably one of the best direct-to-DVD videos, excuse me, that DC has done. McDuffie does a fine job on writing this, and the rest of the animation's really good in it too. It's a very fine adaptation. Dan, here's a couple of things some people had said. Dan DiDio, co-publisher of DC Entertainment, said that he left a lasting legacy to the world of comics that many writers can only aspire to. Over at Marvel, Tom Brevoort,
the man who actually hired Dwayne McDuffie because he started out at Marvel working on Damage Control and the revitalization of the Deathlock title.
yeah, and he's also senior vice president now for publishing over at Marvel. He said that Dwayne was very interested in creating a wider range of multiculturalism in comics, which is why he left Marvel to start Milestone. It would have been nice if Marvel had started Milestone for him.
Well, he had to find
But
the
that's
other
a whole
partners,
other thing.
yeah, so.
That's a whole other thing. And that he was very much affected by, he did work on Black Panther.
Not really. Dennis Cowan, one of the partners of Milestone, did most of the work. But he left. He went over to DC.
Oh, when he was growing up, he
big fan of the Black Panther.
Big fan of the Black Panther, which makes all the sense in the world. McDuffie's the very last words that McDuffie communications, I should say, that he had out there was his last Facebook posting, which was on Sunday at 12:17 p.m. Pacific time, and he just put some stuff up there about the All-Star animated adaptation and how he was going to the release party.
Yeah, no, McDuffie was 49 years old, and he died the day after his birthday.
Yes, he died the day
Oh,
after
my
his
goodness.
birthday, which if you can find a way to dump even more sadness
Yeah,
on this
onto
story,
death, yeah.
there you go. So passing of Dwayne McDuffie, he will be missed. He was a very fine writer, and he also did a wonderful job with bring diversity, as we mentioned, to comics with Milestone Entertainment.
Be missed.
He'll be missed. Another story. We've mentioned this in DC News. Looks like the first wave is drying up. We've mentioned before that DC is canceling Batman and the Outsiders, Doom Patrol, Freedom Fighters, Rebels, JSA All-Stars, and they're joining Azrael and Streets of Gotham and Batman Confidential in their canceled comic cavalcade for 2011. These books are joining the party.
Say goodbye.
They're joining the party. Supposedly, the official word hasn't come down yet, but it all but has.
We'll find out on Wednesday when the Diamond catalog comes in.
Spirit, although you may see Spirit some more, one of the reasons they're canceling the book, obviously, is because of sales, but one of the reasons they're canceling the books is because there are licensing fees attached to this guy and the Avenger. And they weren't doing the Shadow, were they?
No, they weren't.
No,
No, they
they
couldn't.
didn't-
They
they
couldn't
didn't have
afford
Shadow.
the Shadow, so they were planning on doing it. They couldn't afford it.
They've already got Spirit. So
They got that from the Eisner estate, but
if they want to do another Spirit book, they can. They don't have to go through anybody
they don't
for
have
licensing.
to go through anybody for that.
But for these, they do.
The Spirit book, in which he exists in his own little universe, or he exists in the DC universe, I don't know. I mean, this is a situation of something that's a really, really nice idea, and it was a really, really smart idea, but this thing was never going to sell.
But creatively, it's some of the best
Some of
books
the
that
best
DC
people
has
working on it.
done.
Basically, what DC should have done is he should have done the limited series, and then they should have left it alone.
Yeah.
But they decided to do a series around that. Creatively, it was wonderful. Now, supposedly, when all this is going to be killed, there's going to be stuff that has already been paid for and commissioned that you're never going to see.
This is going to be a retroactive cancellation. At whatever point, and supposedly it'll be this week, whatever point DC announces they're pulling the plug on this thing, that's it. Whatever's in the pipe, if Diamond's already got something boxed up to go, it goes. If something's already at the printers to get printed, it gets printed. But if it hasn't gotten to the printers yet, you ain't seeing it.
Which begs the question: if they are going to do a big sales thing for these books is trade paperbacks.
Yeah.
How do you make a trade paperback out of a story that's unfinished, or will they take the unfinished material and actually finish it in the trade paperback? I mean, there is an ancillary market once this gets all put in one
the Spirit
book.
stuff is basically one-shot stories anyway.
Yeah.
J.G. Jones is about to take over Doc Savage for 6 issues, but if the book's been killed, that arc never happened because you never see it. And First Wave, this is 5 of 6. There's only 1 issue left, so there's not much to print.
And that's probably at the printers. I would assume that this will be finished.
Yeah, you'll finish that last issue, and you'll probably get the next issue of the Spirit, but the J.G. Jones 6-issue arc, never got it.
Well,
Now-
if they're not selling, they're probably not too worried about a trade paperback.
Now, all this stuff is being canceled beyond sales in order to make room for Flashpoint because you've got this ton of Flashpoint titles that are coming down the pipe. DC has had sort of an editorial philosophical change over the last couple of years when Dan DiDio came down and was installed by Warner Communications to get sales up at DC. One of the things that happened is DC is now doing a book-by-book sales model on their stuff. If a book doesn't sell, it gets canned, which is sort of what Marvel's model has been now for a while. Before this, a lot of times what DC would have is a book that is creatively very good.
Or a book that is really, really enjoyed by the DC editors was given a chance to continually stick around.
And other books would prop it up. If,
Right.
Batman is selling real well, so we can afford to do something like this, and maybe it'll find an audience and maybe it won't, but, this is really good. Everybody acknowledges it being real good, so we're going to give it a chance. Now, if it doesn't sell,
It's gone
gone.
immediately.
They never think to promote it, then, do they?
well,
We're
that's
just
a
gonna
whole...
keep putting it out there.
Promotions
Somebody-
is another thing altogether. I mean, because Marvel's been doing the thing. It's supposed to be an ongoing She-Hulk series. First issue came out, didn't sell. It's a limited series.
But if you believe in a project, why wouldn't you promote
Comic
it?
companies don't do that.
Phil Winslade, Brian Azzarello, David Hine, J.G. Jones, Rags Morales, Moritat, and Landron
Jose Ladron.
are all going to be working on something in the near future because they ain't working on these anymore.
Well, now-
so their schedules are all freed up.
Now, out of that bunch, I mean, David Hine, he's been working a whole bunch of places. Azzarello, the only thing he was working on at DC was First Wave. So I would assume Azzarello may be wandering to the other end of New York City and start hanging out with Marvel for a while. Because Marvel's announcing their new writer on Daredevil, and who would be a guy that would fit Daredevil?
That would be a big shot.
Brian Azzarello, yes.
Another thing I want to mention is Blockbuster Video, which is not directly related to comics or what we do here. But it's,
you can get the Spirit movie at Blockbuster Video.
Yes,
Why would you want to?
And
Why
Doc
would
Why
Savage.
on earth would you want to?
Because you get to see
Batman.
Spirit get hit over the head with a toilet.
Because I hate those rings on my coffee table.
Because watching the Spirit movies like getting hit on the head with a toilet.
Blockbuster Video is sort of a bellwether for what's going on in retailing right now. They've had just the crap kicked out of them with a combination of the internet and the economy and downloading and
Redbook
and
the fact that if I'm
Redbox,
sitting in
Redbox.
my house and I've got my Comcast remote, I can hit a button and order stuff. Why do I need to walk to a video store?
Well,
It's right here.
Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and its reorganization plan, which they'd put together, they have said is no longer feasible, and they have defaulted on its debtor in possession, which is a legal term for what they're doing, and they are now under auction to be sold to the highest bidder, whoever out there has enough money to buy them. Now, last month it was estimated that they were worth $400 million. Today,
$10.
Today,
$10.
$10.
Blockbuster.
To get it down.
I got a buck.
Blockbuster accepted a $290 million, which is considerably less than $400 million, $290 million stalking horse bid from Cobalt Video, a group of investors which holds over 50% of Blockbuster's senior secured debt. Blockbuster will take additional bids over Cobalt over the next 30 days, so you can still get in on it if you want over the next 30 days.
I predict right now that the winner of this auction will be Cobalt Video.
Well, what do you do with this company? What do
Well,
you do with
I'll
it?
tell you exactly what you do. The first thing you do is they're closing 609 stores now, immediately.
This is what happened to the home video business. The main reason that Blockbuster was allowed to grow and expand, it was a major big deal, is the fact that they rented videos for everyone.
Yeah.
They didn't rent porn.
No, they didn't.
So the mom and pop video stores stuck around. Maybe if Blockbuster started renting porn,
Well,
maybe they would have hung around a little longer.
No, that landscape is
although
changed
now,
too.
That landscape's
nobody
changing,
rents
yeah.
porn because
Yeah.
you can get it online.
You get it online, and
Exactly.
so the porn video business has had its butt
Sure.
kicked too.
So
Everybody does.
basically, Blockbuster was behind the game that I had.
I'll tell you a story. On the Harlem and North Avenue, there was a Blockbuster in Elmwood Park. There was a Blockbuster in Chicago.
Yeah.
You could throw a baseball from the Blockbuster in Chicago and hit the Blockbuster in
Yes,
Elmwood
you
Park.
could, 'cause I remember
That was
going
our
by
biggest
there.
That was
Right,
the biggest
right.
problem there is they just went everywhere.
They were right
stuck
next to each
themselves
other
out
most
way
of the
too
time.
thin.
Well,
Way too thin.
before any of you shed a lot of tears for Blockbuster, and I'm sorry for all the employees that are losing their jobs because nobody should be losing their job in this economy. But before you shed a lot of tears for Blockbuster, remember they became what they were by putting almost every mom and pop video store in this
Out of
country
business.
out of business. Because their model was you move into a market, you find out where all the mom and pop video stores are, and then you open up within
Crush
a
'em.
block. We open up within a block of them, and they wound up crushing just about every mom and pop video store in existence out there.
And to be
There was,
fair, that's
there
not
was a
just
Blockbuster
Blockbuster.
on 95th and Western. There was a couple of family video stores further down the
That's
block.
not really just Blockbuster's method of
That was
operation.
Sam's
It's
Club
all
and
large
Sam- and
industry's
Walmart,
method of
yeah.
operation.
Well, Hollywood Video did exactly the same thing, but Blockbuster was much bigger.
Hollywood Video ended up at the same spot.
Same spot.
Yes, they did.
Next up, we've talked before about the Spider-Man musical. Shut off the dark, turn off the dark,
Turn off
the lights,
Turn off
the lights, and kill this pig.
It's still in preview status, but
Still in previews.
we have news that they've kind of realized that the script needs a little punching up. So
they've rejiggered the
they're
script.
bringing in Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa, who worked for Marvel on Spider-Man and a whole bunch of other stuff. He's also rewriting a version of It's a Bird, It's a Plane.
He
It's a Superman.
already did that. He
That was
did
like-
that.
He
that
did
was
that
about 2
already,
years ago.
but he's being brought in to look at the script that they have and punch it up, and it's a good move because he's done a lot of work on Broadway, and they think that maybe the problem with the show isn't the script. It needs a little more work, but it's Julie Taymor, the person behind it. She's apparently not creative enough to get a musical about a guy swinging around.
Well-
although the thing is making money hand over fist, so
Well, I don't think that this one I'm about to say has a big impact on the overall sales one way or the other of it. But from everything I've heard about the plot, it doesn't have a lot to do with Spider-Man that we're all familiar with. The bits and pieces I've read about the plot, apparently Peter Parker gets raped by a Spider Queen or something and becomes Spider-Man or something like that.
And so-
which you're watching this and it's like, oh, these are people who know nothing about Spider-Man but thought they had a better idea
Right.
for the character,
So
so,
if
they
you-
wrote whatever they wanted.
if you pick Sakasa, who actually wrote Spider-Man, it'll actually start looking like Spider-Man.
Now, the thing you should know about him, the guy we just
Roberto
mentioned.
Aguirre?
Yeah, him.
Picasso.
That It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. JR and I have watched bits and pieces of it on YouTube, which he did in Dallas. What was the name of do you remember? The Performing Arts Center?
Performing Arts Civic Center or something.
The Dallas Performing Arts Civic Center. And while it is by no means the whole play, we have seen this play before, and it is heavily rewritten.
Yes.
Heavily rewritten.
Including the time period that it takes place in.
Yeah, it's been turned into a early 1940s period
right.
piece. Most of the stupid stuff from It's a Bird, It's a Plane, Superman was taken out. They've added a couple of new songs. They've also added Jor-El and Lara and Ma and Pa Kent and a whole bunch of other stuff that tied in with the comic. And from what I've seen, I would really like to see a full-blown version of this new version of It's a Bird, It's a Plane,
Superman. The costume
Superman.
is retooled to look like the Fleischer cartoon.
The Fleischer cartoon. So if he can do the same thing with the Spider-Man musical, at least it will be more palatable to watch at some point down the road when we all watch a video of it on something or
That
other.
being said, they are selling out every performance.
They're selling
Oprah
out
went
every
on her
performance.
show and said she loves
Glenn Beck saw it.
That might be
Who cares? Oh, I'm in.
Glenn Beck
40
saw it
million
4 times
viewers
already.
don't care.
Now, Sikossa.
Oh yeah, I'm really in. Glenn Beck
you're
saw
such
it.
a
And then he rubbed
You're not an
feces in his
Oprah
hair.
Winfrey
Glenn
fan.
Beck has seen it 3 times.
times. He
Not
loves
Glenn
it.
Beck, Oprah Winfrey.
And
I know,
so
Oprah,
Sikossa's
yeah.
going to work on the script for about a month, and then he's going to work on doing a musical version of American Psycho.
Great. There you go. There you
It's
go.
got work.
That's a well-rounded guy, if you've heard of
Got
him.
his work cut out for him.
And that's the
But
weekend review.
and also, Sting came back to TNA.
From the police?
Yes, it's Gordon
Oh, thank
Sumner.
God.
Yes, Gordon Sumner. But the only problem is when
Turn on the
when he
red
came
light.
back and beat Jeff Hardy for the belt, TNA did this really lame 3:31:11 video, which was a takeoff of the WWE Undertaker thing, and it went over like a lead brick to the crowd.
And like your line about the King's Speech, I don't care.
What? I'm not lying about the King's Speech. I don't
care.
have
No,
any interest
No,
in
no,
seeing
No,
it.
he said you're lying.
You're
You're
lying
lying,
about
not
the
lying. You're lying.
I resent that.
Anyway, that's it. We're done with finishing
Why?
out of here. We have no more weekend review shop
Control
talk,
your guy.
but you can go to the store's website and check out all of the weekend reviews that we've done before. And where's the store's website at? Sarah.
I'll turn the show around.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe if I'm the only one who knows this, maybe it's time for a raise. www.myalternatereality.com. So what's that worth?
So stop off at the store's website and check out all the weekend reviews. And
Gosh,
until
yes.
next time,
What are you, Jim Lang?
this is Comic Book Man.
Everyone.
No, old
Stop it. I don't
chum.
run that anymore.
Saying for him
Bocephus.
and for him
And for me.
and from
And
me.
for him.